Welcome to the web series, The Hero's Call, where champions of safety and justice in the community are profiled. The series is co-hosted by attorney Mark Diller and his colleague, Dr. John Naranja. Dr. John is both an attorney and a doctor.
Today on The Hero's Call, we're going to discuss what it means to stand up and be heard. We're featuring Philjay Solar from the Asian American Commission, and we're going to talk about his organization and what it represents. But more importantly, we're going to determine his role in providing a voice in our community.
Good afternoon.
Welcome. Let's start out with having you tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, sure. So I'm a Filipino American born here in Boston. My parents immigrated here from the Philippines. My dad joined the Coast Guard as his way to get into the U.S., and my mom served as a nurse for the Department of Veteran Affairs. They grew up based out in Cali and then moved out to Boston eventually once I was born, and we've been here ever since. Right now, I still live in the greater Boston area, currently working for the Department of Human and the Health Services as an investigator for HIPAA violations.
All right. I understand you're also a member of the Asian American Commission. Mm-hmm. Can you tell us a little bit about the Asian American Commission?
Yeah, so the Asian American Commission was was created by the state of Massachusetts back in 2006 as a way to recognize and advocate for the Asian American Commissions throughout Massachusetts. And I was appointed recently back in July 2019.
How does the Asian American Commission pick its commissioners?
Yep. So the Asian American Commission is an appointed member, so we're special public officials appointed by various public officials such as the governor, the attorney general. I was appointed by Auditor Suzanne Bump, others such as the Speaker of the House as well too. So each appointing authority appoints 3 commissioners, so a total of 21 commissioners serve as part of the Asian American Commission.
Hi, Philjay. How are you?
Hi, Mark. Doing well, thank you.
Good, good. So, Philjay, I understand at this time with regard to the pandemic and the coronavirus, we've heard government officials and people in the press and media label this as the Chinese virus. Has that labeling impacted the Asian American community here in Massachusetts?
So, one of the biggest things that everyone can relate to is just the business side, specifically in Chinatown. When COVID started becoming more prevalent in the US, a lot of Americans were just avoiding Asian American businesses due to the stereotypes happening because of COVID, because of how our government and how people, slapped on this connotation of the China virus. Even though some of us aren't even Chinese. Now, as a Filipino American, I don't identify as Chinese. I was not from China. And I've been treated subtly with very implicit biases when it was first happening. You could notice that people would stay away from you more, or even if you sneezed or you had a slight cough before all the symptoms were released, people were avoiding us. They were not wanting to talk to us. And that was pretty hurtful. It was just like, why am I being tied to this disease, even though I have nothing to do with it, and I don't have it.
I'm sorry you're dealing with that. Can you share with us, has the Asian American Commission heard about overt acts of racism? Some of the things that you were referring to were kind of implicit racism, things that you just felt and you understood on a day-to-day. But can you share with us, have there been any anecdotal overt acts of racism towards Asian Americans related to the virus that you're familiar with?
There has been instances where, outright oblivious acts of, go back to your country. Like, why did you bring this virus to us? Or bring your virus back to your own country. Very inhumane acts like that have been occurring within Massachusetts.
Now, what is it that the Asian American Commission has been doing to help address this discrimination against the Asian American communities here in Massachusetts?
When COVID was first happening, we took a stand alongside elected officials such as Boston Councilor Michelle Wu, Suffolk DA Rachel Rollins, and even State House members such as Representative Taki Chan, Tram Nguyen, Maria Robinson, and even Senator Sonia Chang Diaz made a statement to tell the Commonwealth that this racism needs to stop.
Philjay, the Asian American Commission put out a press release that says, while we understand that it is human nature to fear the unknown, targeting and discriminating against a specific group only fuels the biggest epidemic of all, racism. Philjay, could you share with us what the purpose of the Asian American Commission putting out this press release was?
Yeah, so the purpose of this statement was a sign of solidarity, not only against the racism happening within the Asian American community regarding COVID-19, but just racism in general.
Philjay, can you explain what we're looking at here?
Yeah, so this was following the press release that we put out. We took a stand outside the State House and in solidarity with multiple public officials and business leaders in the Asian American community to just tell the Commonwealth, that COVID-19 isn't the fault of the Asian American community. We should have to be stereotyped and treated differently because we're Asian American. And as you can see, one of our staffers, Jessica Wong, she has a sign there that says, "My ethnicity is not a virus." It just really goes to show as a statement that we shouldn't be treated like this because of how our government portrayed a pandemic. And this picture is actually has gone pretty viral. It's been shared not only within the Commonwealth, other states have actually used this picture just because it's so powerful with just that piece of paper and what it says and the people standing behind it as well too.
This is that hashtag I am not a virus campaign. Can you talk about that just a little bit?
It was in collaboration with Michael Keogh and Moses Farrow. My fellow commissioner, Sam Nguyen, has kind of taken the lead on it to just help with the social media campaign of it, just to give more awareness and more solidarity within the Asian American community to get people to understand that, as I mentioned before, this tying it back into that sign, my ethnicity is not a virus. My ethnicity is not a virus. Just because I look a certain way doesn't mean I have COVID-19 instantly.
Philjay, I wonder if I can share with you a quote from a German pastor in the post-World War II Nazi time period. And then we'll try and tie it into some of the campaigns that you've been involved with. First, they came for the socialists, and I did not speak out because I was not a socialist. Then they came for the trade unionists, and I did not speak out because I was not a trade unionist. Then they came for the Jews, and I did not speak out because I was not a Jew. Then they came for me, and there was no one left to speak for me. So in the context of the Asian American Commission and what's been happening most recently in different, what's been happening most recently around the United States, can you talk to us about how the Asian American Commission is acting?
Yeah, in the wake of the murder of George Floyd and Breonna Taylor and other Black community members of our brothers and sisters, we felt the urgency that, we shouldn't have to just stand for our own Asian American community when racism happens, when overt racism happens. And it just so happens that it was just like a kind of like a cataclysmic event where one act of racism happened to be so close to another act of racism. And, we felt the urge and need that we have to stand behind our Black and Afro-American community to stand against the racism happening within their lives as well too.
Philjay, what's in the future for the Asian American Commission as we go forward?
Yeah, so we're going to continue supporting all of our people of color no matter what. And, one thing that's been in the talks at the State House was, creating a commission like our Asian American Commission. So we supported the creation of a advancing African Americans Commission and in creating a Latinx Commission, which are things that aren't necessarily engraved in stone like our commission. So we've been pushing a lot of that and advocating for it within the Commonwealth to make sure that they're supported and being heard just as we are. So
there currently is no African American Commission or Black Commission?
So there's an advisory council for the governor. There isn't necessarily any. We're not like the Asian American Commission. We have Bastion Law that establishes us, and what we're doing is what we're supporting is the same thing to happen for the Black and Latinx communities as well too.
Philjay, thank you so much for joining us today on the Heroes Call. It's clear that your goal is not to just be a voice for the Asian Americans, but also highlight the importance of not keeping silent in the face of discrimination or other otherisms. When silence prevails, we know that injustice can occur. Thank you for upholding the principles upon which this country is based, and thank you for actively being a part of the solution.
Absolutely.
Thank you. It's nice to speak to you.
Thank you both for having me. It was a great pleasure to be on this.